This is the Perfectionism Project, the only podcast created specifically for perfectionists who are building businesses. I'm your host, Sam Laura Brown, perfectionism expert and entrepreneur. I teach perfectionists how to plan properly, consistently follow through, and rest without guilt so they can build profitable and fulfilling businesses without burning out. I've helped over 1,000 perfectionist entrepreneurs do exactly that inside my program, Perfectionists Getting Shit Done. If you're tired of procrastinating, overthinking, and half finishing your ideas, you're in the right place. Now let's dive in. Welcome to today's episode. So before we get into it, I have literally just finished recording the episode you're about to hear, but I just want to give a little bit of an introduction to this episode. In this episode, the core thing that I am going to be sharing about is getting into the look at me go mindset and why this is so important. And I just don't want to say too much more than that because I think I just get straight into it right at the beginning. But this is all about being able to celebrate yourself for the effort, for going for it, for trying again, and then trying again, and then trying again, because so few people do that. And if you are doing that and you haven't yet realized that that in and of itself is worth celebrating, that this episode is really going to help you see yourself, connect with yourself, and really give you so much fuel for the journey ahead. So I hope you enjoy listening to this episode. Today, I want to share with you about celebrating the fight for your business, the fight to have it be as successful as you know it can be. This is something worth celebrating that I had missed as something to celebrate. And I really I was just doing so in PGSD. We're doing the Get Out of Your Own Way challenge. It is not too late to join. You can sign up and start today. But we're doing the Get Out of Your Own Way challenge, and I'm doing the challenge with everyone. So I was doing the part 1 exercise, and within that, one of the parts of the exercise is forgiving yourself for anything in the past that you need to forgive yourself for, forgiving yourself for anything where you might be embarrassed or ashamed, just really connecting back in with yourself before continuing on to the rest of the exercise. And as I was doing that, a few interesting things came up, and that exercise, just that question in and of itself was so powerful. And I just stayed with it until I felt such a shift in my connection with myself. I cried during this exercise, and I just felt myself break free from something that I've been carrying for so long. And that emotion really came up as I was writing down that I'm trying to even think I should get my journal, but I posted it all. If you go to my persistence log in PGSD, you'll see my full journaling exercises. I went deep in it. So it's 7 pages of my handwriting of all the answers to the questions. But really, I forgive myself for not realizing how much of a miracle it is that I kept fighting for my business. And this is not just in the beginning, but in the recent years as well, that I just kept showing up even when I felt so disconnected and so disappointed and just so frustrated it's not working and just feeling like such a failure. And I kept going for it, and it looked so imperfect. So many times I had a plan, I didn't follow through with it, I changed the plan, I got in my own way. I just do not want to give you any kind of impression that I was going through that experience and showing up perfectly. And I think that's part of the criticism I gave myself and being so hard on myself was really just this expectation that no matter what, I should be able to show up perfectly. And to just recognize that I'm recording this because if you're in this, I just want you to get this. And I'm going to share it in as many ways as I can throughout this episode to have it land with you in your body. That just the very act of continuing to try and continuing to keep going for it, especially when you are getting in your own way and you see yourself getting in your own way and you know that you're getting in your own way and you're not doing things in the most efficient or effective or optimal way that you could possibly do it, to just literally keep on trying and keep on going for it rather than being like, "Ugh, I guess it's just not for me. I guess I should just go and get a job." Like, and it's not to say not to get a job at certain times and support yourself financially, but like to just keep going for it in your business is incredible. And I hadn't seen that. And like what came up for me today as I was going through the exercise also was like, I forgive myself for laughing at myself and belittling myself for stopping things that were working. And I've talked about it on the podcast as well, just like over the last couple of years, how something that came up for me and just context was in what was the year? 2022. We had our most successful year, 600K in revenue, very, very profitable, more than 50% profit margin. And I was working 3 days a week. I had a toddler. I was pregnant with twins. I got married that year to Steve. After being together, we got married on our 15-year anniversary, which was so fun at our house. Like it was just a year that was really powerful for the business, and also was a year where like throughout the year, like at the beginning of that year, I really started to have this thought error that I don't know what I'm doing and what I'm doing isn't working. Even though throughout that year I created so much success, I didn't feel very accomplished because of this story that I'm talking about here. And also just this idea that like if I don't achieve all of my goal, then nothing about it worked. And I was just reinventing the wheel over and over again while continuing to do what worked without really realizing yet what worked. And now I really know that deeply just from having the contrast of stopping what worked. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like I have gotten that lesson so deeply. But as I started in the following years after that, so like let me just go back for a second. So that was in 2022. At the beginning of 2023, I had our twin sons, Jack and James. We had 3 kids under the age of 2. I'd hired a marketing manager at the end of 2021. No, 2022, sorry. Like right before, I think she started in December and then I started having time off in January. And so she was on for like a month. And then I was like, okay, like we're not selling PGSD anymore. Like I decided to close PGSD for sale, even though I just hired a marketing manager to help sell PGSD and help me double down on the podcast. I then stopped podcasting. We still had episodes going out, but like I wasn't there on the podcast in the usual way that I was. And really, like from that revenue halved, we then weren't profitable. I think I'm sure I've talked about this in previous episodes. If you're a regular listener, this won't be new, like new information. I think it's so, so, so important to share this as well. Such an important thing that came up today was like, I forgive myself for believing that, like, at a bare minimum, a business should just be having more and more revenue every single year. And that's like just baseline, like what a good business would do, instead of like, that's actually an exceptional result to accomplish that. And that's not just like the standard or like what should happen. And I forgive myself for like having that idea that that is how it should be, because then me not being in that situation, like my brain created a lot of shame when I was actually in a very normal situation. So anyway, the revenue halved and I could just see it. Like it wasn't because of anything like that had happened. It was just that the engine of the business that I hadn't really realized was driving the business forward. The engine, like the podcast, the spark, selling PGSD, doing launches, like having it be available for sale, trusting myself, and still holding space for all the perfectionist thought areas and all of that kind of thing. But me me in that year, in 2023 in particular, I hadn't yet realized what was working and that I'd stopped doing what was working. I was just like trying to figure out how to be a good leader and like all of that kind of thing, be a good CEO now that I wasn't in the marketing and wasn't in the sales of things and like all of that. I was just trying to figure out what to do. And like it was such a tough personal season with 3 kids under 2, exclusively breastfeeding for the first 7 months, sleep deprivation, like they would say, do not operate any heavy machinery like for that whole 7 months of that period and beyond that. Anyway, I was still operating my business. That alone is such a miracle. But then in the following year, in 2024, I really started to figure out what was going on. So I was in Stacey Bayman's mastermind, and I didn't re-sign for that when I was having the twins because I thought, like, I don't know what's going to be happening in the business and how much I'll be working. So I had less support for a harder period of business. So anyway, eventually I was like, okay, actually, support is amazing. So I signed back up. I was in a $2 million group mastermind. I really started to release a lot of that shame also from witnessing Stacey go through having a revenue like peak, if you will, and then drop, and like her going through like similar things, but like just before me was so powerful, and part of why I want to share what I have been going through, because I know there are so many of you that will be able to ride on my coattails the same way that I did for my coach, and just be able to get all the breakthroughs I need as I need them by having someone going ahead of me. So as in 2024 and in 2025, I was really figuring out and piecing together, like, okay, what happened and what do I need to be doing and to stop doing, and then increasing my capacity massively, because then I was pregnant in September 2024 with our fourth Liam. It was a high risk pregnancy. He was born in May. There was just a lot of uncertainty all throughout the pregnancy, plus having three very little ones. So when Liam was born, we had 4 kids under the age of 4. And that was so tough. And I was just so hard on myself for like, well, it shouldn't have to impact things. By the time we had Liam, I did coaching between having the twins and having Liam to really just work through feelings that I had and shame that I had, and like just unraveling the like being so hard on myself. So I had a very different experience just through all the work I'd done to increase my capacity and all of that. There's still more work to do. Like I have got content for years just based on the last 3 to 4 years of my life and my business, like the lessons I have learned. But anyway, all this is about is just really like just, I know I'm just sharing the context, and I'm just trying to think like, where did I start this? But when I had that experience of having success, and like for me, the ultimate goal business wise was always just like a full-time income, doing something I love and getting to be myself while doing it, and like actually enjoying it and being able to be self-expressed and be me, making a full-time income. Like that's the dream. That is the dream. That's like anything beyond that is just cherry on top. I just want to be able to make a full-time income, which I have done for 7 years, including while having 4 kids within 4 years. And my brain just forgot how amazing that is that I did that. And it's really been going through like seeing that and connecting with myself in that way, like just seeing myself instead of being in this mentality of like, well, it should have been more, like just, and I hope you listening to this, you understand our perfectionist brains, how like we just spot all the imperfection and like, well, here's what I see it could be. And if it's not exactly as it could be, then it's completely inadequate. Like that real all or nothing of like, unless I'm 100% achieving my goals and killing it in terms of like what I see is possible and what my potential is, then I'm completely inadequate and completely failing. Like I really was just in that all or nothing mindset, and it was so painful. And as I figured out what works, what actually builds the business, and the things that I want to do, and like my competitive advantages, my like hidden strengths that I have that I hadn't realized, like doing podcast episodes like this that just feel like as I'm recording this, my brain is like, like this cannot be published. Like this is not coherent, but I know it's going to be so helpful for you. So we carry on. And also I know I just can't trust those perfectionist thoughts. Like I just have so much evidence now against them just from the willingness to publish. And I teach this in the Creative Cocoon content course inside PGSD as well, like about how to navigate that because it's easier said than done. So how to actually become that. But really like with that experience, what I I failed to recognize throughout that period of it is just like my own self-talk, how much that kept me down, like kicking myself when I'm already down and going through such a hard time and such big personal life transitions and uncertainty, that it felt so factual in my head to just be like, well, it's failing, it's not working. Like all of that just felt so like the sky is blue, my business is failing, instead of actually seeing that I was actually succeeding and killing it and still am. And B, like just by virtue of continuing on, that is something to be so, so proud of and is in and of itself such a miracle. And I think about like, if I hadn't been willing to invest in coaching, even when it was a stretch, even when it felt scary and uncertain and irresponsible to do so, because I didn't feel like I was in a great place. So like, does it make sense to even just like double down? But to just be able to get support when it didn't make sense to my brain, but to just know like, I am going to keep fighting for this and keep on going. And it feels so uncomfortable and so messy. And I feel like such a failure and so embarrassed. And here I go again. And let me keep trying. I'm going to keep going for it. And I really think, I really deeply believe that if I didn't have coaching, self-coaching, the mindset tools that I have, I would have quit my business during that period. And I have said this many times. When I left the corporate world, when I left my accounting job, and I have a law degree and a finance degree, and like all of that path, when I left that, it wasn't because I was the person who was like, I just could never work for anyone else. Like, I just want to be my own boss. I didn't have that desire. I just wanted to do something that I actually felt like was me. I started my blog when I was still a uni student and loved, like, once I found the world of personal development, I was like, holy shit, this is the coolest thing ever. And I wanted to be able to have a career in that. It took me so long to even admit that out loud to anyone other than myself. And really, as I was going through that period, like I could have just, it would have been so easy to quit. And I had moments throughout. I remember there was one moment like that in 2023 that I was crying to Steve and I was like, like, I'm just at my limit. I'm at my breaking point. Like, what the hell is happening? It's so funny. I always would like to see if you need to be a coach. He has a lot of wisdom. I'm not always ready to hear it, but he has a lot of wisdom. He was like, can't you just do what you did last year when you were making lots of money? I was like, it's not that simple. It was that simple. Anyway, eventually, as I realized that, I just started laughing at myself and belittling myself for like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And that was so unwarranted and so unkind of myself. And I'm just not tolerating that from myself anymore. And it just is poor treatment of myself. And it's just not okay. And I think that it's like having the same way that we have boundaries with others of like, hey, this thing that you're doing, like, I'm like, you do what you want. I'm just not going to be here on the other end to receive it. That is how I feel about that, like laughing at myself for going for it. What the fuck? Like, that is, sorry for the swear. I mean, I used to, when I was listening back to old episodes, I used to swear all the time, but I have not done that very often on the podcast lately. Anyway, it is like that, like, what the hell? Like that belittling myself for going for my dreams and like fighting the good fight and keeping on going, even when it would have been so much easier to just quit. And like, as I was saying, I am the person that I happily work for someone else. I liked having other people that I was working around and we'd go get a tea or like go out and do stuff. Like I liked having work friends, like all of that kind of thing. So I wouldn't have had an issue going back to working for someone else. But I just had this knowing that if I quit on this, I'm just going to be coming back later. Like, why quit when I know this is what I want to be doing? And it's not necessarily like I found my purpose, but almost like the business itself, like the challenge of it, the excitement of it, the frustration of it, which naturally comes with that, with anything challenging. But like, I love a challenge. I want to be stretched. I want to grow. I love the topics I talk about. I've been talking about them since 2013. And once I knew perfectionism, like what it actually was, I think maybe that was 2014 or 2015. Anyway, like I have not run out of things to say on the topic of business and perfectionism and getting out of your own way. And we are over a decade in. I love what I do. I love the people I work with. I love having this podcast. My perfectionist brain 100% of the time is like, let's not initially, but I love what I do and just keeping on fighting for that when it would have been really easy to say like, you know what? It makes sense to just get a job, to not be so hard on yourself, to not keep trying to just like wind this up, or like just let it be like 100K a year business, 200K a year business, like that makes sense. Or like to just kind of still have the business but really downgrade the vision to something that was more like a job but still a business. And it is just such a miracle and so worth celebrating, the keeping on going. And I say this not from being completely on the other side of like, oh my God, and now like I've achieved all my wildest dreams that I have in my business. And now I looking like, no, I am still in the fight. I am still in the process of this. Have I dramatically turned things around? Yes. Has it been a massive fight to do so in the best way and also the hardest way? Also, yes. But just, it's so important to recognize when you're in it, not just like when you're on the mountaintop, but when you're in it, just the act of going for it is worthy of celebration. It's like the thing of, people's deathbed regrets is like they wish they could have shown up in the world as themselves, some flavor of that. And they also just wish that they had tried the thing that they wanted to do instead of it being like, yeah, someday, like, once life calms down a little bit, like once, I have all the money just sitting there. So like, and there's no inconvenience, like, but to actually have just gone for it and to keep going for it and to be willing to be in the reality that going after a dream and a goal is so messy, so painful at times. It feels like I was saying this in the Unfreeze Yourself course that we have in PGSD that I recorded over the last few weeks. That in gymnastics, so like the term is the twisties, when like you don't know what way is up. And Simone Biles, I watched her documentary about returning to the Olympics and her comeback, which was so cool to just see like the amount of pressure she could hold and be with. And that's a whole different podcast episode I need to do about like holding the pressure instead of trying to just constantly relieve pressure. But having the twisties where you literally don't know which way is up, and then being able to get solid ground under your feet and be willing to go up in the air again and into the uncertainty of that, like that, being able to go from like having that sensation of like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know which way is up. I don't know which way is forward, or I keep going forward and then I end up back here. Like what's happening, to just keep going for it and putting one foot in front of the another, getting support even when it feels so uncomfortable and so irresponsible to do so, to your brain that's like, this isn't making sense, to trust yourself that you can make decisions. And I also posted this in my persistence log. One of the things I said that came up for me as a realization is that decisions that I've made from high self-trust have always been really great decisions, and that trustworthy people can make mistakes, because I kind of been in this all or nothing of I made business mistakes, so now I can't trust myself. And then business got so much harder when I trusted myself less, and then I didn't give myself any evidence that I'm worth trusting. And like I really built that back up. And now I'm in a really high place of self-trust, and I can just see how I make great decisions in self-trust. And this is a really important distinction, that there's a difference between having a great decision and the outcome of that decision. With our perfectionist all or nothing thinking, what we often do is say, if the decision, like a good decision, is a decision that has a good outcome. If I didn't like the outcome, then the decision was bad. This makes it so hard to make decisions. This is why one of the things we support with so much in PGSD is decision making, because when we have this view of decision making, that only good decisions are decisions with good outcomes, the fact that literally you cannot guarantee a good outcome for any decision because there's so many factors that come into whether a decision you get the outcome you hope for. It makes it so hard to make a decision because you literally can never guarantee that it's going to have the exact outcome you want. And then we get in this indecision and then this indecision fatigue where we have so many unmade decisions, or you're just constantly toing and froing and second guessing and going back to the drawing board and back to research mode. So really just for me, noticing for myself, like when I'm in high self-trust, I make excellent decisions. Do they always have the outcome that I had hoped for? No, they don't. That's the reality of it. But were they great decisions made from a great frame of thinking and as probable as could be to succeed? Yes, they were. And so just being able to separate out a decision, making a decision from the outcome of the decision as two separate things, instead of what I had been doing was, if a decision I made didn't have the outcome I wanted, I shouldn't have made that decision. I was wrong for making that decision, and therefore I shouldn't make any more decisions for fear of making the wrong one and just beating the shit out of myself and just like creating all of that shame on top of the shame that was already there. So really like such a shift that has happened for me is unwinding that, because when I was in that period of low self-trust, then I wasn't making decisions to be able to turn the business back around. And then the business wasn't turning back around. And then it felt even harder to make decisions because then I have to make the perfect decision to be able to make up for the lack of decision making and lack of action. Because if you don't make a decision, it's very, very hard to, to take action if you don't know what you're doing, if you haven't decided the direction or where you're going. And like all the little decisions along the way, so many decisions in business. Again, this is one of the why in PGSD, one of the key things we do coach on is decision making, like big decisions like niche and pricing and what you're selling, and also just little decisions like what am I going to do today? They matter. They make such a difference. And if you are all frozen up with decision making, as I was, from this place of I have to make sure it has the outcome I want, but I can't guarantee that. So let me not decide so I can't be wrong. But then now I'm not getting the outcome I want because I didn't decide anything. So let me make the perfect decision to make up for the fact I didn't decide anything. Is such a tough place to be. And so it was really freeing to just see, like, really see it laid out in that exercise today and in the other parts of it too. Like, just, I can really trust myself and I can also handle a lot, and I have a very high level of resilience and capacity and capability. And I have done very active work to develop that. We've been talking about that on the PTSD coaching calls. I've been sharing about that. I share about it in the Unfreeze Yourself course. And with my private clients, I've been also like coaching on that a lot as well. Like the active work of increasing your capability and capacity and failure tolerance and resilience, that has been so essential. And I feel so strong when I could have ended up just feeling so weak. And like I felt weak at times for sure, for very extended periods of time. And also, I am stronger because of it, like the cliche thing. If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. But oh, it was a fight and it took very active mindset work to really be able to pick myself back up and dust myself off again and again and again, especially throughout that whole time as well. Solo parenting completely from like the time the kids wake up to the time they go to bed, 2 days a week, every week, and just having a lot. And this is just like having 4 kids under 4. The time away from the business is the hardest time. Like I really had to do so much mindset work and I've loved doing it. Like the outcome has been amazing and just like the breakthroughs have been insane. But being to the point now where I can solo parent and find that energizing and have so much capacity, it just being able to, when they're all four crying at once, wanting me at the same time, and I'm the only one there and I'm the one doing everything, being able to be doing that 2 days a week, and then being able to have that give me energy for my week. And like, instead of really going through when I hadn't yet found my power in that, feeling like, well, I can't really show up fully in the business because I've got to conserve energy here to be able to have energy for parenting, like to be able to have energy for the 3-hour long bedtime routine and like getting everyone to sleep. And then someone's going to be waking up overnight for seeds and all of the different things. And then the morning routine. And then like, I just really going through, like, I don't have anything to give in my business time. Like, that's the time I just need to play it safe and to just not aim for much and just do what's comfortable, because I don't have energy to spare. I need all of it. Like, I can't go into the evening routine tired, especially not when I'm solo. And I can't go into the weekend feeling tired. Like, and just being pregnant, being pregnant as well, so tough. And I just feel, and this is why I'm talking about this, like being able to see yourself and be like, I am a badass that I did that. And for you listening, you are that, and you haven't been recognizing it because you're not at your goal yet. You're not at a full-time income yet. You've been trying for so many years and you haven't gotten there yet. Like, you just feel like, but when I get there, then I will feel like that. No, you've got to decide to feel like that, because your perfectionist brain isn't going to offer that to you. Your perfectionist brain is just going to be telling you how behind you are, how you should already be there by now, how you're still not doing good enough, what a joke that is, what a laugh that is, how embarrassing that you keep on trying, instead of like how incredible that you keep on trying. So many people never try, or they start trying and they give up. But here you are keeping on trying. That must be celebrated. And that must be celebrated while you are in the process of the build, of building your business for the first time or building it back like I was. That can't be ignored. That gives you fuel, energy for the journey. And it is not a sprint, it is a marathon. And just being able to settle into, this is going to be a journey. And I am so proud of how I'm showing up on the journey, even though my perfectionist brain is constantly like, oh, that wasn't good enough. Oh, that wasn't good enough. Oh, like just constantly wanting to point out to me all of the ways I'm falling short, all of the balls that I could be juggling that I'm dropping, like all of that, to be able to, and this is really a decision, it's not something that will just happen automatically when you achieve your goals, to be able to just say, look at me go. Look at me go. Look at me try. Look at me keep trying and trying again. That alone is such an incredible thing. And I just wanted to record this episode based on the fact that I know if you are like our PGSDs, you have a hard time celebrating yourself. And even when you get to your goal, you have a really hard time with that because you're already on to the next one and you probably should have been there by now too. But to really, like, I just want to pause and celebrate you and celebrate me and celebrate the going for it and the going for it for as long as it takes. There's this Jim Rohn video. I love his videos there's heaps of them on YouTube, ROHN. He was Tony Robbins' mentor, and it's called, what's the video called? The Day You Turn Your Life Around. I've watched that video so many times. I love it and highly recommend going to find it. And in that, he talks about like, how long would you give your average baby to walk? Until they walk. Like, it's until. It's not like, okay, give them a year, and if they don't, then like just stop trying. Like, until you get there, until they get there. And especially because Liam, so he's 15 months now, and he took his first steps maybe a month or so ago, and like, which is on the later side, but also was quite convenient to not have him running around sooner. But like constantly supporting him with all of the, like, being able to sit up and then crawl and then like all of the stages that come before walking. And then like, we're just constantly celebrating him for all of the like steps. And he's still in that process now of, he'll take like, especially in the last few days, he's really starting to take more steps, and we just all clap for him and he claps for himself, and it's the cutest thing, as he should, because it is such an accomplishment to do that. And it really just like, we just keep supporting for him and he just keeps trying until he gets there, until now, like Jack and James and Lydia, like walking is just it's just a normal thing. Like it's the 3.5 and 5, like it's not a big thing anymore, but like to just until he gets there where it's not a big deal anymore because it's so normal for him, we keep supporting him and he keeps on going for it. And so that's how it is in business, going for it until you get there. And even though I had that moment in 2023 where I was like, I just can't, this is so painful to keep going. I just knew I am just going to keep going for it until I get there. Like from the beginning, my mantra of if I persist, I will succeed has been the motto. Whether I've been consciously saying it to myself, I used to say it to myself so often in the beginning, like almost everyone else is going to quit. Literally, if I just continue on, I'm going to be like in the top percent of people in entrepreneurship, literally just by virtue of not quitting. Like literally, if I just keep going and do not quit, I am in the top percent because almost everyone quits and I am not going to quit on it. And I can stand still. I can walk backwards. I can walk very slowly. It's not like I have to be like perfectly going along, but like I am just going to, as best as I can, really just keep fighting for it. And it also reminds me, I don't know if I've mentioned this book on the podcast. Maybe I have. I know I've definitely mentioned it in PGSD. There's a book, I believe the author's name is Robin. I cannot remember her last name in this moment. And the book is called Only Go as Fast as the Slowest Part of You Feels Safe to Go. And reading that book was such a gift. And so many other things along the way as well. My coach Stacey, just like her being an example of being a comeback and like getting and like connecting back and serving and all of that has been incredible. But just like having that, like only go as fast as the slowest part of you feels safe to go. And like the work we do in PGSD is like creating safety to go faster. But we're not trying to go faster than you feel safe to go. And just being able to be like, it's still so worth celebrating. Even going slow is worth the celebration. And we just get like, I have been noodling on this now for years, but especially in the last 6 months, this whole like, I'm so behind. Like I need to do a separate episode on that, but like all the different reasons we have that thought. But part of it is just this all or nothing idea of that, like, I should just be like exactly where I would expect to be. I should just be there. And I should just be like, if I intellectually understand how to do things, I should just be able to do that, when that is not how it works. There's such a gap between intellectual understanding and being. And what we do in PGSD like bridges that gap. But just this idea of like, unless I'm going fast and perfectly, then I'm completely failing is just so flawed. And I just wanted to do a whole episode about celebrating the going for it, celebrating the picking up one foot and putting it in front of the other. And if you walk backwards, that is okay. If you go sideways for a while, that's okay. If you walk for a bit and then you stop and freeze, and then you keep going and then you freeze again, that is okay. I've done all of that and then some. And I'm so proud of myself for that. I'm so proud that I kept staying engaged with it, even when it was super hard, and even when it felt like nothing was happening, and even when I was doing nothing and I was telling myself I should be doing something. Like when I first started and I posted on my blog and I didn't do anything for 3 months and I just was so embarrassed by the whole thing, that I'm just so proud of me for the trying in and of itself, no matter what is achieved from the trying. I am just so proud of myself for that. And I want you to be proud of that too. So that's all I have to share with you in this episode. I hope it's been really helpful. I hope you can see yourself and feel a little more connected to yourself than you did before you started listening to this episode. I hope you're having a beautiful day, and I will talk to you in the next one. If you struggle to build your business due to procrastination or overthinking, or maybe you keep burning yourself out, I want to invite you to join my program, Perfectionists Getting Shit Done. Inside, I will teach you my proven process for getting shit done as a perfectionist entrepreneur. In case you didn't know, perfectionists can't follow the same productivity advice as everyone else. When we do, we get in our own way. So let me teach you what works inside the program. It's simple and anyone can learn. To sign up today, visit samlaurabrown.com/PGSD. I'll see you inside.